Hi guys, welcome back to the Uncensored UFO Index. Thanks for joining us again. Now if you go back to one of our previous videos, the one about the Deachmont Forest case, we mentioned another case that we knew about which had a similar shaped craft. That's the one we're going to take a look at today. So this was a Japanese Airline Flight 1628. It was flying a routine cargo flight from Paris to Tokyo. On the 17th of November 1986. There were 3 crew members on board who witnessed this. There was the captain, whose name was Captain Terauchi, I believe. I apologise if I've mispronounced that. He also had a co-pilot and a flight engineer. Now, what is important to note about the captain for this flight is that he was an experienced ex-fighter pilot with 29 years experience and around 10,000 hours. So he had a good idea of what would be in the sky, and he would definitely know if there was something he hadn't come across before. So let's take a look.
This observation took place as the flight was over Alaska at around 5:11 p.m. in the evening. And they said that the 2 UFOs that they saw came from below the plane, and they actually saw them as they turned on their course. At first, due to his history, Captain Terauchi believed that they were probably military aircraft. They suddenly manoeuvred to be in front of the plane. They were described as being a walnut shaped, and there were said to be some lights as well. Roughly twice the size of the Boeing 747 that they were actually flying on at the time. However, these crafts were completely silent. Now, they very suddenly slowed down so that they were next to the plane and flew in line with the plane. And at this point, they began to glow extremely bright. It was said to be so bright that it was warming their face through the glass. At this point, they contacted air traffic control, who said that they could not confirm that there was any other air traffic around. However, within a few moments, the radio went dead. The object was said to be flying as if it had no gravity at all. The way it was manoeuvring, it didn't seem to have any gravitational pull on it, and it matched the flight exactly, the speed of the flight exactly, that it looked as if it almost wasn't even moving. Now at 5:23, so sort of just over 10 minutes after this first appeared, it disappeared in an easterly direction abruptly into a spot on the horizon. And this is when the captain noticed that there was a pale light which was following the plane, again matching the speed and the altitude of the plane exactly. Captain Terauchi then decided to widen the scope of the radar to see if there was anything else around that he could see, and he actually picked up an object on the radar which he estimated was probably about the size of an aircraft carrier. Now this object continued to follow them. They changed course, at one point they changed altitude to miss a collision with this object, but whatever they seemed to do, this object seemed to follow them. It was at this point that they requested to do an emergency landing at Fairbank in Alaska. This was approved, and they achieved this without any incident at all. It all went fine. Now, what makes this case interesting is at the time when the FAA released their report about this, they actually agreed that it was a UFO. They couldn't confirm what this object was that they had seen. However, in March 1987, they retracted that, and they actually said that it was a split radar image. They accepted what the crew had seen and what they said they saw. However, they were unable to support what they were saying. Air traffic control were also able to support that there had been a UFO in the sky at the time.
Along with a very experienced flight crew and captain on this incident, we have some really good drawings which were done by the captain about a month and a half after the sighting. So that's what we're going to take a look at now.
After the incident, Captain Terauchi was actually requested not to speak to the press. He did an interview, which led to him being given a desk job for a number of years. He was, however, reinstated later as a pilot. What we've got here is a really well annotated sketch that the captain did. So this gives us lots of information, including like where the light was coming from, and it gives us a really clear picture of this walnut shape that he described when he was given his description of the craft that they saw that day. There is also, if you look, a picture of the jumbo jet which is compared to the size of the ship that they saw. So we have here a visual representation of the size of this craft. This here is a different view of the crafts that they saw that day, and this is what they saw through the cockpit window. As we can see, it shows the lights and then the rectangle shape of the crafts that they saw. Now this sketch shows us roughly where these crafts were in comparison to the plane as the plane turned on its course during that flight, and where these crafts appeared. And finally, this one shows us the two that we've already discussed at the top, and the one at the bottom is a radar picture from the aeroplane's radar. It's a sketch of the airplane radar showing us how the crafts appeared on the airplane's radar that day during the sighting. Along with the sketches which were done by the captain, we also have 3 other pieces of evidence which make this case really intriguing, I think. We have the FAA report, the air traffic controllers, and the really experienced flight crew who all agree that there was a UFO in the air that day. However, nobody can confirm what it is. The FAA did retract their report in March of 1987, changing their statement to say that it was a split radar image. They could accept what the crew were saying, however they could not support what they were saying they saw.
When looking into this case, I've begun to realise that there is a wealth of evidence when it comes to this story. There is so much information out there when you start looking into it. Now, personally, looking at the evidence there is, I believe that there is a huge amount to corroborate what they saw that day. I believe that there is a huge amount of evidence to suggest that what they saw was an extraterrestrial UFO. You've got a pilot with 30 years worth of experience. He knows what he's looking at. So I think this is a really, really good case for proving that there was definitely a UFO in the sky that day. Okay guys, so that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us again. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of our other videos. If you have anything you want us to take a look at, whether it's a recent case, a current case or a historical case, then send it to any of the information below. All of the links for everything we've looked at today are in the description below, along with all of our contact information. So we'll see you next time.